Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a very special segment on Muslim News Canada. Today we will be interviewing two very special guests from the community. Joining us today we have Imam Nafis, who is the Imam of Jame Masjid Mississauga, and Mr. Syed, who is the Secretary of Jame Masjid Mississauga. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, and thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much for having us.
So let's start by discussing a little bit about Jame Masjid Mississauga and the history of the mosque. When was it founded, and what were the initial goals and visions for the mosque?
Well, the mosque was founded, it's actually one of the first Muslim organizations in 1978. And at the time, it was founded because many of the people from our parents' generation were new immigrants to Canada and had come here and didn't see any kind of Islamic environment around. So the primary driver was concern for the Islam of their children, and they started holding some, functions on a weekly basis, then slowly expanding to holding Salatul Jummah, etc., until finally they were able to purchase our original masjid, approximately 1991, and that's when they opened the mosque and started the organization.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, the mosque plays a very active role within the Mississauga community for many years now. So how has the mosque evolved over the years since its establishment?
I think, starting from the position of just being able to basically do Salatul Taraweeh in Ramadan, doing some weekly programs and Salatul Jummah, you've evolved the mosque now to where we have daily prayers, we have active classes for adults, for children. We have everything from banquet hall functions where we have marriages in the masjid, all the way through to recently we've started a funeral service as well. So we've seen the evolution of the mosque, just like we've seen the evolution of Mississauga and the Muslims in Mississauga, from very basic facilities through to a very high-tech, full-service Islamic community center.
Thank you. So pivoting a little bit, there have been a number of projects or larger projects that the team has spearheaded over the years. Could you share some details about the last major project undertaken by the mosque? What was the project about and what were some of the objectives?
So the last major project we did, I would say, is the expansion of our new mosque. As I mentioned, the original mosque was established around 1991, and probably about 10 years ago, using land that we had purchased over the preceding 20 years, we started the expansion to build the new mosque, as we call it, which is a much larger facility over multiple floors. And it included classroom space, a library, banquet hall, as well as a large prayer area. And recently, we've just, as I mentioned, recently completed a funeral facility, which allows us to actually perform funeral services for our congregates, because obviously that's a growing area of service that's required. That's what we've done in the last little while. Imam Sahib, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, mashallah, recently, the masjid was able to hire two youth imams, or you can say instructors. And mashallah, now we have programs, to fulfill the needs of our youngsters also. And mashallah, we have the regular evening classes established and continuing well. Also the weekend programs, as well as we used to have Tafseer every day, every Friday for the adults, and mainly the adults used to attend, but now simultaneously we have a youth program as well as the kids program. And I've been seeing lately, mashallah, we have over 50 youngsters, youth attending on a weekly basis, as well as some children attending regularly, inshallah, alhamdulillah, for the last year or so. So there's been a tremendous growth in that respect. And mashallah, we're seeing a lot of youngsters now, attaching themselves to the masjid And this is what was lacking in the past. So alhamdulillah, there's a tremendous growth in that respect. Yes.
MashaAllah, that's a very great initiative, and it's very important to make sure that the organization or the community is coming together and, fostering a community to encourage other people to get involved. So that's very beautiful, and it sounds like there's a lot of collaboration with other initiatives and religious organizations within the community itself to achieve common goals, which is always great to see. So talking about the collaboration and goals, what are some of the mosque's plans for the future in terms of the expansion and the new projects?
So I'll talk a little bit about some of our current collaborations, and Imam Nafis can talk about our next project as well. So we've been collaborating with a lot of organizations, including, of course, Dawanet, Sound Vision, but we've been collaborating with Muslim Council Appeal, with ISNA, with a lot of our local schools, masjids, with Darul Tawheed, a lot of mosques within the region, as well as being part of the greater GTA Muslim Council. So we do all of this because we believe it's very important for the community to be united and for us as Muslims to work together. And, I think us working with the other communities makes us all stronger, and I think helps to serve the community that we have within Mississauga, makes us even more capable and stronger. And in terms of the next projects, Imam Saad, maybe you can talk about that.
Yes, one of the things that we lack over here is gymnasium. And all of us, we know in order to attract the youngsters, we have to have a gymnasium. So that's what basically we've been working on since our last project ended. But alhamdulillah, now, as Brother Kamal can also tell you that, we have the opportunity to purchase 2 buildings that are right behind us. So this is our next goal, to somehow purchase those buildings and utilize the buildings for the classes, and also to build a gymnasium in between, inshallah. And that will serve the purpose, and it will inshallah, hopefully it will attract the youngsters more and more towards the programs that we're having in the masjid. So inshallah, we ask the community to help us, to support us in that respect, so that we can continuously grow, inshallah, and benefit our Muslim community in that respect, inshallah.
Yeah, just to add to that, Imam Saab mentioned we are purchasing the buildings. The main purpose for us actually is, inshallah, in September 2024, we plan to open an Islamic elementary school, as well as we are also hoping, with the help of Allah, to open an Islamic daycare facility and a Montessori facility as well. So all of these new programs that we will be having to serve the community better will require more space. And in the next few years, while we raise more money and we purchase the buildings and do the renovations, we will continue to start those programs and run them within our current facility. But as you know, you're always short of space, and to fulfill the full potential of these new programs, we will have to have more space through the purchase and renovation of the new facilities.
MashaAllah, that's fantastic to hear. And I know while it sounds like a very small and common need, it's also a very large undertaking for the community. So before we wrap up today, can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming fundraiser campaign and how the community can get involved?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is, first of all, we are always thankful, first and foremost, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to our longtime supporters and community members who have always been very generous. We've done a lot of projects over the last few years, and over the last, especially 4 or 5 years since we've completed our current masjid, we haven't done much active fundraising other than for charitable events and charitable causes, which our community has always stepped forward for. Now we're asking them to step forward to help support this new expansion. We are going to require probably somewhere in the range of $9 to $12 million over the next 4 to 5 years in order to support the purchase of the additional land, buildings, and the construction and renovations of the facilities that we require. And along with that, we will also have to run these new programs. But at the end of the day, what I'm hopeful is that These programs will help contribute towards the finances of the masjid and allow us to reduce our reliance in the future on donations. Of course, as a charitable organization, we're always going to be required donations from the community, but having these facilities which will allow us to generate some additional revenue will help us to reduce the operational costs of the masjid that will have to be supported through donations. So I think it's a win-win, both for the community in terms of having these new facilities and services, and also for our musallis and for our team at the masjid. That'll give us a little bit more security. We won't have to worry so much about where we're going to raise money to, run the operations of the masjid.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Imam Nafis and Mr. Syed. It's always a pleasure to see the Muslim communities so actively involved and passionate towards increasing engagement for everyone. And it's definitely a huge undertaking. And recognizing that the team, specifically the management team at Jame Masjid Mississauga, is doing this in a volunteer capacity in addition to your normal day jobs is very inspiring. So thank you for taking the time, and inshallah for our audience who is watching today, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this segment, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Jazakallah for having us.
Jazakallah khairan. And just want to add that if you would like to support the masjid, you can go to our website, www.ipcindiapetercharlieontario.com. Thank you.